Hey viewers, Nick Too Sick here, back with another fishing video for you, straight out of the Dirty Delta. Today, I want to talk about targeting big bass. And when I mean big bass, I mean 5-pound plus. Out here in the California Delta, there is a lot of fish, and the 5-pound plus category is the most desired fish out here in the California Delta. That's what we're looking for. That's what we want. You know, you could get out here, throw a lot of different baits and catch a lot of different fish. But if you want to catch big fish out here in the Delta, what you need to know is that these fish are eating bluegill. So, with that being said, the big fish prefer the big meal and they want to expend less energy doing it. There's fish are very smart. They've evolved, you know, several years, and they've learned their techniques and they've honed in on it, and you know, they basically stick to it. And I'm not saying you can't catch bigger fish on, you know, whatever you want to throw out here, but you know, if you're really looking to optimize your efforts and optimize your chances of catching these fish, and you know, bringing the percentage of those fish bags up in weight, you really need to try throwing bluegill type baits. So when I'm going for a big fish like this morning, I had a successful morning out here on the California Delta throwing bluegill imitations. The morning started off windy, so what I like to throw when it's windy is basically a chatterbait. I like to throw a chatterbait that looks like a bluegill. This one here is from Fat Sack Baits, and this is in the Delta Crawl color. You know, step it up. Instead of throwing a 1/2 ounce, throw a 3/4 ounce. You know, instead of throwing a 3.5 inch or 4-inch paddle tail trailer, step it up and throw a 5 or a 6-inch. You know, we're looking for the bigger fish and that bigger bite, so you want the bigger bait. This here is what I really like to throw on the windier days, or when the water clarity is low. That's basically interchangeable with a spinnerbait. I throw the spinnerbait in the same color. You know, sometimes I'll throw the same trailer on it, that Keitech in the electric shad color. But a lot of the times I like to run no trailer on it, because when I'm throwing this spinnerbait, I'm usually bumping through like sparse toolies, and I don't want that that trailer or a trailer hook or anything on it. I like it just bare bones right out of the package. This one here is also by Fat Sack Baits in the Delta Bug color. This one's got gold on it, which really helps mimic a bluegill. And I try both of them. And you know, on windy days, one will usually work better than the other, whether it's the chatterbait or the spinnerbait. I'll throw both and figure out which they want. On clearer days, like today, I found myself throwing the more natural presentation that I go with, and that basically is a swim jig. You can see I like the Delta Bug color, and this is also a Fat Sack Baits swim jig, 3/4 ounce with that same 4.8 Keitech in the electric shad color. I throw all three of the baits I just talked about on the same rod. That is a iRod Genesis 2 Stone Cold Swim and vibrating jig rod. It's perfect for throwing what I just talked about, is that vibrating jig and this swim jig. It also throws the spinnerbait 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, 3/8 ounce really well. So I love that rod. I just get it paired with a Lew's Mach speed spool. 7.5 to 1, and you're good to go. Fluorocarbon I prefer when throwing those reaction style baits. It's a lot more sensitive, and I prefer the sensitivity and the stealthiness opposed to the toughness of the braid. I really dial in my drag to where I'm comfortable handling a big fish without snapping my 15-pound fluorocarbon, because that's what I throw out here minimal, and the Delta is 15-pound fluorocarbon monofilament, or whatever line that I'm throwing, 65-pound braid, which gets me into my next bait is actually a bluegill swim bait, and that is something like that. What this is, a Jackall Gentrail Junior. It's a 5-inch 1.5 ounce bluegill swim bait. As you can see, that's got like a really natural look to it, and on those clear days when I'm throwing that swim jig, I like to also throw that Jackall. This is when I'm really looking for that big bite, throwing the bigger swim bait, and I throw that on the iRod Junior Swim with a Lew's Super Duty speed spool, 7.5 to 1, and you kind of just creep it really slowly. And where I'm throwing all these baits is I am targeting the edge of weed lines, and I'm targeting the trenches, which is the area in between the shore and where the weed line starts. On a high tide, these big fish, they like to move in and use those little alleys as ambush points, and around corners, basically just going from ambush point to ambush point, targeting these fish. So that's how I catch these larger fish out here on the Delta. If you do it right, you can catch a nice 20 to 25 pound bag, and have a great day out here on the Delta. So I hope that helps you with catching bigger fish out here, because I know that can be a struggle at times. So some of the techniques that I talked about will really help you put bigger fish in the boat, I promise you that. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm doing a giveaway at 250 viewers. We're almost there, so I appreciate the support, and keep it up, and I will see you guys out on the Delta. If you're not out there, then what are you doing? Because out here in the Delta, it's a beautiful place to be, and this is what life in Northern California is about. We have all this wonderful water, so get out and enjoy it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next YouTube.